and welcome to another edition of MHQ's SFO and MFO mini-series, where together with Kath Zagatti, lead private client partner at MHQ, we dig into everything single and multifamily office. Kath, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Yann.
So, hey, we are almost at the middle of the series. So what are we going to look at granularly today?
Okay, so today we will discuss what to consider before making the decision between MFO and SFO. You may recall, Yann, we discussed this topic last year, but we focused on SFOs only. And now I wanted to know more about MFOs. So I thought that perhaps we could walk through both type of family offices and highlight what families should consider before making this decision.
Mm-hmm. So a few bits and pieces there, and we chose to really highlight four of them. The first is cost. So when you are a single family office, of course, you build this operation, this infrastructure, this business, all the costs are for you. So it's critical, and we'll come back at the bottom, to assess not only the scope that you need be catered for, but also whether you want to in-house or outsource the services based on cost, because everything is for you. You have a little bit more flexibility in an MFO, whereas the power of multiple participants makes it quite easier to have a broader scope in-house because you share the cost. So cost is an important element. I would actually say consider the scope, whether single or multi, but then you'll probably have a little bit more freedom to go higher if you can split the cost. That would be the first one. The second one is it's a question of deal flow. MHQ has been in the UAE for the past 20 years. When we arrived, it was a tier 3 financial center. Now it's a bona fide tier 1 financial center, tier 1 structuring center, top 10 FDI jurisdiction in the world. But critically, it now has exceptional deal flow. And a lot of that has changed in the private investment sphere, whereas back in the days, the banks were really controlling the stream, and most of it was going through New York and London. Not anymore. I would actually argue today it's pretty much going from California to the Sun Belt in the US and directly through the Middle East. So these are probably the three hottest centers in terms of deal flow. And so that means if you sit here, you have access to that. But do you have better access as an MFO, as a single family office? The question is, as an MFO, unequivocally. Because when you are one family, you actually have your own deal flow and you need to do a lot of effort to try to capture the rest. Now, that doesn't mean you cannot get as much as in an MFO because you can network with peers. That would be single family offices as well. And you can share, but it's much easier to do and to institutionalize in a multi-family office, for example, you could have one or two dedicated members that are just there to source deals and to evaluate deals on behalf of not one, but also the other family. So generally, investment opportunity better, faster when you have a multi-family office. Mm-hmm. Then there is the regulatory oversight. We touched on this in an earlier episode. This is critical. We mentioned that sophisticated families like high regulation jurisdiction, but they do not like to be supervised when it's proprietary only. If you are a single family office, you do not need to be supervised. You can choose to be if you want to, but it's quite rare that people choose to do so. There are some advantages in doing so. Typically how you are perceived by counterparty, there are some fiscal benefits too. But if you are a family office, only for you, proprietary, no need for other sides, so quite easy to operate and run. And you can always graduate from that and go regulate it later. If you are a multi-family office, it depends on your activity. If you are undertaking advisory, in the financial space, managing financial assets, etc., for multiple parties, then you become a real operator of the financial industry, like if I was to service you and your family. So MFO, you provide financial services, regulatory oversight. What does that mean? Slightly longer road to license in the UAE, roughly 6 months, whether you go to ADGM or the IFC. That means a higher running cost, give or take $250,000 for financial advisory per year, or give or take $300,000 baseline budget for a category 3C in the IFCO ADGM. And then you have the prudential capital. This is how much money you need to actually put on the table to reassure the regulator that you are serious and that you have a buffer to help you operate, even if you do not generate enough money. So quite a large difference here in this space between single and multi.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not, yeah. Last one, yeah. So last one, it's that is something that you see in any business, not only in a family office business, is do I make or do I buy? In other words, do I create the infrastructure myself in-house? Do I staff? Or do I outsource? And what we see is increasingly people are a little bit more digital. So the option of keeping things in the family for key decision making is there, but often people outsource. Now, outsourcing can be not the panacea for everyone, because when you do not outsource, you are a little bit more confidential. You have a little bit more control. And when you hire people to actually do something for you, you ensure that their goals as your staff are fully aligned with yours and they do not have any conflict of interest by trying to push you some sort of product. So there is a benefit in having things in-house to either create or staff up. That being said, and that you can also think of outsourcing to another party, which has some value, typically when the family is not necessarily educated in the financial space. So you may want to rely on some sort of third-party resource, either fully or partially. That's what we see a lot in the financial space when the family has generated a lot of money, but is not necessarily financial market savvy. Management tools, for example, are usually taken from abroad. They are not necessarily developed by the single or the multifamily offices. And then there's independent guidance, because when someone is on your staff, yes, there is alignment of goals, but they may not necessarily want to speak out. So these things needs to be considered. So it's a case of both in-house versus outsource, but also some ancillary aspect. I mentioned confidentiality, control, independence, conflict.
Okay, perfect. That's very clear, Yann. Thank you again for your input today. And as I mentioned in our previous webcasts, we do have a comprehensive fact sheet on this topic of MFOs, where we touch upon the benefits, options, and permitted activities, and much more. And we are happy to share it with qualifying applicants. Thanks for today.
Thank you.